I never believed in second chances. Not after what happened with Rachel. Not after I spent 3 years building a life with someone who promised forever, only to watch her walk away with someone else. That kind of pain doesn't just fade. It settles into your bones, becomes part of who you are, changes the way you see the world. It was a Friday night in November when everything changed. The kind of night where the air bites at your skin and the wind carries the promise of winter. I was sitting alone in a dimly lit bar called the Violet Room, nursing my third glass of wine, watching couples laugh and lean into each other. I hated them. I hated their happiness, their easy affection, the way they looked at each other like nothing else in the world mattered. 6 months had passed since Rachel left, and I still couldn't sleep through the night. Still woke up reaching for someone who wasn't there. My friends had stopped asking if I was okay. They'd moved from concern to frustration to silent acceptance that this was who I was now. The girl who couldn't let go, the seat taken. I looked up, ready to lie and say yes, but the words died in my throat. She stood there with rain droplets glistening in her dark hair, hazel eyes that seemed to see straight through every wall I'd built, and a gentle smile that didn't quite reach those eyes. She looked tired, not physically exhausted, but soul tired, the kind of tired I saw in my own reflection every morning. No, I heard myself say, "It's all yours." She slid onto the bar stool beside me, ordered a whiskey neat, and for a few minutes, we sat in comfortable silence. I studied her reflection in the mirror behind the bar. Mid-30s, maybe, sharp cheekbones, full lips, an elegant neck. She wore a charcoal blazer over a white shirt, sleeves rolled to her elbows, professional, put together. But her hands trembled slightly as she lifted her glass. "Rough night," she asked, catching me watching. "Rough 6 months," I admitted. The wine had loosened my tongue. "You?" "Rough year." She took a slow sip of her whiskey. "Maybe longer. I've lost count." Her name was Diana. She was an architect, recently transferred from Boston to escape memories that haunted every street corner. She'd been with someone for 5 years, someone who'd made promises and plans, talked about adopting children and growing old together. Then one morning, she'd woken up to a note on the pillow and an empty closet. No explanation. I asked, horrified, just "I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore." Diana's laugh was bitter. "Turns out this meant us, meant the entire life we'd built." I told her about Rachel, about coming home early from a business trip to surprise her, only to find her in our bed with Emily, her supposedly straight best friend, about the stammered excuses, the tears that felt more like manipulation than remorse, the way she'd made me feel like I was the problem for not understanding. She said I was too intense. I confessed, the words spilling out, that I loved too hard, wanted too much, made her feel suffocated. Diana's hand found mine on the bar. Her touch was warm, grounding. "That's not love," she said quietly. "Love doesn't make you feel like you're asking for too much when all you want is honesty and commitment. That's not intensity. That's just basic human decency." Something cracked open inside my chest. For 6 months, I'd carried Rachel's words like they were gospel truth, convinced myself that I was fundamentally broken, too damaged to ever be loved properly. But here was this stranger, this beautiful broken stranger, telling me that maybe I'd been wrong. We talked for hours. The bar filled and emptied around us, but we barely noticed. We traded stories of heartbreak and healing, of lonely nights and lonelier mornings. She told me about throwing herself into work, designing buildings, because creating something permanent felt like control when everything else was chaos. I told her about the painting I'd abandoned, canvases collecting dust in my studio, because color felt like a lie when the world was gray. "I used to paint love," I said, "passionate, vibrant, alive. Now I can't remember what that feels like." "Show me," Diana said suddenly. "Your studio. I want to see what love looked like through your eyes." It was a reckless idea, inviting a stranger to my apartment, to the sacred space where I'd hidden myself away from the world. But something in her eyes, that same desperate loneliness I felt, made me not doubt my studio apartment was a mess of contradictions. The main room was meticulously clean, sterile even, like I was afraid to leave any trace of myself. But the corner I'd designated as my workspace was chaos. Abandoned paintings facing the walls, brushes stiff with dry paint, palettes crusted with colors I hadn't touched in months. Diana walked slowly through the space, taking it all in. She paused at my bookshelf, running her fingers over the spines. Poetry by Adrienne Rich and Audre Lorde. Essays by Baldwin and Wilde. Books about queer history, queer art, queer survival. You have good taste, she said. I have a lot of time to read these days. I poured us both wine, my hands shaking slightly. Having her here felt intimate in a way I wasn't prepared for. She turned to the covered canvases. May I? I wanted to say no. Those paintings were raw, exposed, everything I'd felt before the world taught me that love was something to fear. But I nodded, and she began turning them round, one by one. The first was from early in my relationship with Rachel, to women dancing in a kitchen, bodies intertwined, faces lit by golden afternoon light streaming through a window. The brush strokes were energetic, joyful, alive with possibility. The second showed the same to women, but older, softer. They sat on a porch swing, heads together, reading the same book. Contentment radiated from every carefully blended color. The third was different, darker, two figures pulling apart, their forms dissolving into shadow and smoke. This one I'd painted in the week after Rachel left, working through the night in a manic haze of grief and rage. Diana stood before that last painting for a long time. When she turned to me, her eyes were bright with unused tears. This is exactly how it feels, she whispered. Like you're dissolving, like you're becoming nothing. I moved to stand beside her. I haven't been able to paint since this one. It's like I used up all my color on loving her, and now there's nothing left. That's not true. Diana turned to face me fully. We were close now, close enough that I could smell her perfume. Something woodsy and warm. You're not empty. You're protecting yourself. There is a difference. Is there? My voice broke. Because I feel empty. I feel like she took the best parts of me when she left. Diana's hand came up to cut my cheek, her thumb brushing away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. The best parts of you are still here. They're just scared. And I understand that. God, do I understand that? We stood there, frozen in that moment, two broken people recognizing something vital in each other. The rain had started again, drumming against the windows, cocooning us in sound. I don't know how to do this, I confessed. I don't know how to feel anything without being terrified it's going to destroy me. Maybe we figure it out together, Diana said softly. Maybe that's the point. We're both terrified. We're both broken, but maybe broken people can help each other find the pieces. She leaned in slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away, but I didn't want to. For the first time in 6 months, I wanted something, wanted someone, not to fix me or complete me, but to see me, truly see me, and all my messy, damaged reality. When her lips met mine, it wasn't fireworks or lightning or any of the cliches I'd written in my journal as a teenager. It was gentler than that, softer. It felt like coming home after a long journey, like finding warmth after being cold for so long you'd forgotten what warmth felt like. We kissed slowly, carefully, to people who'd been hurt learning to trust touch again. Her hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer, and I wound my fingers through her hair, marveling at how right this felt. How natural. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. Stay, I whispered. Please stay. Diana stayed that night, and we didn't sleep. Not in that way. Instead, we lay in my bed, talking in whispers like we were afraid to disturb the fragile peace we'd found. She told me about her family in Boston, her mother who'd taken years to accept her, her father who still introduced her girlfriends as friends, about the loneliness of being the only openly gay woman at her firm, of navigating a world that still saw her as other. I shared my own journey, growing up in a small town where being different meant being dangerous, the relief of moving to the city for college, of finally finding my people, my community. The way Rachel had been my first real relationship, the first person I'd built a life with, and how losing her had felt like losing my blueprint for the future. I had it all planned out, I said, staring at the ceiling. We were going to get married, buy a house in the suburbs with a big backyard, adopt 2 kids, maybe 3, get a dog, live this beautiful, normal life. Normal, Diana repeated, turning on her side to face me. Do you still want that? I thought about it, really thought about it. I don't know. I think I wanted the idea of it, the security of it, proof that I could have what everyone else has, that being gay didn't mean I had to sacrifice the dream. But what do you actually want? Not what you think you should want. What makes your heart race? What makes you feel alive? No one had ever asked me that. Rachel had assumed we wanted the same things. My friends made plans for me based on what they thought I needed. Even my therapist focused on healing the past, not imagining the future. I want to paint again, I said slowly, the realization dawning as I spoke. I want to create something that matters, something that speaks to people who feel alone. I want to travel, see art in person instead of just in books. I want to wake up next to someone who challenges me, who makes me think, who isn't afraid of the messy parts. I looked at her. I want to feel alive again. Diana smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. That sounds beautiful. What about you? What do you want? She was quiet for a long moment. I want to design something that lasts, not just buildings, but something meaningful. A community center, maybe, a shelter for LGBTQ+ youth. Something that gives back. She paused. And I want someone who sees me, not the polished professional I present to the world, but the person underneath, the one who's scared and scarred and still trying to figure it all out. I see you, I whispered. I see you too. We fell asleep as dawn broke, tangled together in a way that felt less about passion and more about comfort, about 2 people who'd been alone for too long finally finding shelter in each other. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Diana and I fell into an easy rhythm, meeting after work at coffee shops and bookstores, spending weekends exploring the city together. She showed me buildings she admired, pointing out architectural details I'd never noticed, making the familiar feel new again. I took her to art galleries and museums, sharing my perspective on color and composition, watching her face light up with understanding. But it wasn't all simple. We were both carrying baggage, and sometimes it collided in unexpected ways. 3 weeks into whatever we were calling this, Diana canceled our plans at the last minute. Work emergency, her text said, but when I saw her Instagram story later that night showing her at a bar with colleagues, something ugly twisted in my chest. I knew it was irrational. We weren't officially together. We hadn't had the conversation about exclusivity or labels, but the sight of her laughing with other people, clearly fine, when she told me she couldn't see me, brought every insecurity Rachel had planted roaring back to life. I didn't text her that night or the next day. I let the silence stretch, testing to see if she'd notice, if she'd care. She showed up at my apartment on the 3rd day. What's going on? She asked, wet from the rain, worry etched across her face. Did I do something wrong? You lied to me. The words came out sharper than I intended. What? She looked genuinely confused. You said you had a work emergency, but you were out with friends. Understanding dawned in her eyes, followed quickly by frustration. Are you serious right now? You're upset because I went out with my colleagues. You lied. I didn't lie. Her voice was firm. I did have a work emergency. We had to completely redesign a proposal because the client changed their requirements. By the time we finished, it was late, and my team wanted to decompress. I didn't text you because I was exhausted and didn't think I owed you a minute-by-minute itinerary of my evening. The words hit like a slap. She was right. I knew she was right, but knowing didn't stop the panic clawing at my throat. Rachel used to do this, I heard myself say. She'd cancel plans, say she was busy with work, and then I'd find out she was with Emily, and I'd ignored it, made excuses, because I trusted her, and I was wrong. Diana's expression softened. She stepped closer, taking my hands in hers. I am not Rachel. What she did to you was cruel and wrong, and you have every right to be scared. But you can't punish me for her mistakes. Tears burned my eyes. I don't know how to trust again. I don't know how to believe that someone won't leave. You don't have to trust me completely right now, Diana said gently. Trust takes time, but you do have to give me a chance to earn it. And that means communicating when you're scared instead of disappearing on me. She was right, and I hated it. Hated how vulnerable it made me feel to admit I was terrified. That every moment of happiness felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting to fall. I'm scared, I whispered. I'm so scared that I'm falling for you, and that you're going to realize I'm too much, too damaged, too broken. Diana pulled me into her arms, holding me as I shook with suppressed sobs. You're not too much. You're not broken. You're healing, and healing is messy and complicated and nonlinear. But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere unless you ask me to. We stood like that for a long time, finding our footing again. It wasn't a magical fix. My trust issues didn't evaporate, but it was a start, a foundation we could build on. Part 5, choosing each other winter deepened, and with it, our connection. Diana met my friends, navigating their protective suspicion with grace and humor. My best friend Maya pulled me aside at a holiday party, studying Diana across the room. She's different from Rachel, Maya observed. I know, no, I mean really different. Rachel always needed to be the center of attention. Diana seems content to just be present, you know? She's watching you like you're the only person in the room. I followed Maya's gaze. Diana was talking with my friend Jordan, but her eyes kept finding mine across the crowded space, a small smile playing at her lips each time our eyes met. I think I'm falling in love with her, I confessed. Maya squeezed my hand. Then let yourself fall. You deserve this. But falling meant risking, and risking meant the possibility of pain. I'd started painting again. Small pieces at first, abstract explorations of color and emotion. Diana had bought me new brushes, high-quality paints, encouraged me to reclaim the part of myself I'd abandoned. One evening, she arrived at my apartment with an unexpected proposition. There's a gallery showcase coming up in February. Emerging artists. I submitted your portfolio. My heart stopped. You did what? I submitted your work. The pieces you showed me, plus the new stuff you've been working on. They want to meet you. Panic flooded through me. Diana, I can't. I'm not ready. Those paintings are too personal, too raw. They're brilliant, she interrupted. And they deserve to be seen. You deserve to be seen. This isn't your decision to make. Anger flared, hot and defensive. Diana's face fell. You're right. I'm sorry. I thought I was helping, but I overstepped. I'll contact them and withdraw the submission. She moved toward her bag, reaching for her phone. But I stopped her. Wait. I took a shaky breath. Why did you do it? She turned back to me, eyes serious. Because I see how you come alive when you paint. Because your work is powerful and moving and deserves to reach people who need it. Because you told me you wanted to create something meaningful, and I wanted to help make that possible. She paused. But mostly because I believe in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. And I thought maybe if someone else told you how talented you are, you'd start to believe it too. My anger deflated, replaced by something more complicated. Fear and gratitude and love all tangled together. I'm terrified, I admitted. I know, but I'll be there with you every step of the way. If you want me to be. I thought about Rachel, who'd been dismissive of my art, calling it a hobby, suggesting I focus on more practical pursuits. I thought about all the years I'd made myself smaller, quieter, less, because I believe asking for support meant asking for too much. Okay? I heard myself say, okay, I'll do it. Diana's face broke into a radiant smile, and she crossed the room to kiss me, deep and full of promise. The gallery was small but prestigious, known for launching the careers of emerging artists. I spent January in a creative frenzy, painting new pieces alongside the old ones. Diana was there through it all, bringing me food when I forgot to eat, sitting quietly in the corner reading while I worked, offering opinions when I asked, but never pushing. She'd become my anchor, steady and sure. We'd had more difficult conversations, more moments of triggered insecurity, and learned communication. We'd established boundaries and routines, check-ins, and reassurances. It wasn't always easy, but it was real. I created a series called Broken Hearts, Whole Souls, exploring themes of heartbreak, healing, and queer love. Vibrant colors returning to grayscale canvases, figures dissolving and reforming, the visual story of losing yourself and finding your way back. The centerpiece was a large diptych. The left panel showed a woman alone in darkness, curled in on herself, surrounded by shadows. The right panel showed two women standing together, not touching but close, light beginning to break through the darkness around them. I called it She Found Me in the Darkness. The night of the opening, I was a wreck. I changed outfits 4 times before settling on black jeans and a burgundy blazer. Diana wore a stunning navy dress, her hair swept up, looking effortlessly elegant. She held my hand in the car, them tracing soothing circles on my palm. What if nobody comes? I worried aloud. People will come. What if they hate it? They won't. What if they love it but for the wrong reasons? What if they see it as trauma porn instead of? Diana gently placed a finger on my lips. Stop. Your work is honest and beautiful. Some people will connect with it deeply. Some won't. That's art. But you created something meaningful. And that matters regardless of how anyone else responds. The gallery was already filling when we arrived. I recognized some faces from the local art scene. Critics I'd read, people whose opinions could make or break an emerging artist's career. My stomach churned. Then I saw them, my friends, Myra Jordan and the others, dressed up and beaming with pride. My younger sister had driven up from college, wearing a Support Queer Artists pin. Even my mother was there, which shocked me to my core. We'd been working on our relationship, slowly, but I hadn't expected her to come. I'm proud of you, she said simply, pulling me into an awkward hug. It wasn't everything I'd ever wanted from her, but it was something. It was a start. People moved through the gallery, studying my work with serious faces. I watched from the sidelines, Diana's hand in mine, my heart in my throat. A critic stopped in front of She Found Me in the Darkness, standing there for so long I thought she must hate it. Then she pulled out her notebook and started writing. The gallery owner, Marcus, appeared at my elbow. You need to come talk to some people. The next hour was a blur. Critics wanted to interview me. A collector was interested in purchasing 3 pieces. A local LGBTQ+ magazine wanted to feature my work. The attention was overwhelming and exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Through it all, Diana stayed close, but not smothering, proud, but not possessive. She let me shine while making it clear she was there if I needed her. Late in the evening, a young woman approached me. She couldn't have been more than 22, wearing a pride flag pin on her jacket. I just wanted to thank you, she said quietly. I came out to my parents last year, and they didn't take it well. I've been struggling with whether I made the right choice. If I should have just stayed quiet, stayed safe. She gestured to my paintings. But seeing your journey from darkness to light, it reminded me that choosing authenticity, choosing love, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, that's always the right choice. Tears blurred my vision. This was why I'd created these pieces. Not for critical acclaim or commercial success, but for moments like this, for connection, for letting someone else know they weren't alone. Thank you for telling me that, I managed to say. You made the right choice. I promise you did. After she left, I found Diana standing in front of the diptych, wiping her own eyes. That was beautiful, she said when I joined her. This whole night has been surreal. She turned to me, taking both my hands. I need to tell you something. My heart clenched. Those words, in my experience, never led anywhere good. When I met you that night in the bar, I was in the darkest place I'd ever been. Diana said, I'd convinced myself that love was a lie. The opening up to someone only led to pain. That I was better off alone. I wasn't looking for someone. I was barely surviving. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But then there you were, equally broken, equally lost, and somehow in recognizing my pain in your eyes, I started to see a way forward. You helped me remember that being hurt doesn't mean being destroyed, that we get to choose who we become after heartbreak. Diana, let me finish. She squeezed my hands. I know we've both been cautious about labels, about defining what this is, but I don't want to be cautious anymore. I'm in love with you, completely, terrifyingly in love with you, and I know we're both still healing, still figuring out how to trust again. But I want to do that with you. I want to build something real with you. The tears I'd been holding back all evening finally spilled over. I love you too. God, I love you so much it scares me. It scares me too, she admitted with a watery laugh. But maybe that's okay. Maybe love is supposed to be a little scary. I kissed her there in the middle of my own gallery opening, surrounded by paintings of heartbreak and healing, in front of critics and friends and strangers. Let them see, let them know. This was my truth, my story, my love. We moved in together in the spring, not to escape memories this time, but to build new ones. Diana found a beautiful loft with huge windows and enough space for both my studio and her drafting table. We painted the walls together, bickering good-naturedly about color choices, getting more paint on each other than on the walls. It wasn't perfect. We still had hard days, moments when old wounds reopened without warning. I still sometimes panicked when she worked late. She still sometimes withdrew when emotions got too intense. But we'd learned to talk through it, to hold space for each other's healing while maintaining our own boundaries. I got a solo exhibition at a larger gallery. Diana's firm promoted her to lead architect on a project designing an LGBTQ+ youth center, the meaningful work she'd dreamed about. We are building lives separately and together, supporting each other's dreams while maintaining our own identities. My relationship with my mother improved slowly. She came to dinner occasionally, made an effort to ask about Diana, stopped referring to our relationship as a phase. It wasn't the unconditional acceptance I'd always wanted, but it was progress. Diana's parents visited in June. Her mother pulled me aside while we were preparing dinner. I've never seen her like this, she confided. With Amanda, her ex, she always seemed to be performing, trying to be whoever Amanda needed. But with you, she's just herself, happy and whole and real. It was the greatest compliment anyone had ever given me. That night, lying in bed in our home, Diana traced patterns on my shoulder. Do you remember what you said that first night? She asked, about wanting to feel alive again. Do you? Feel alive? I thought about it, about the upcoming exhibition, the commission I'd received to create a mural for a local LGBTQ+ center, the community I'd built, the life I was living, about the woman beside me who challenged me and supported me and loved me exactly as I was. Yes, I said, more alive than I ever thought possible. Good, she kissed my temple, because you make me feel alive too, like I'm not just surviving anymore, but actually living. A year and a half after that rainy November night, Diana took me back to the Violet Room, the bar where we'd met, where two broken people had recognized something vital in each other. Why are we here? I asked, confused. It wasn't our usual kind of place anymore. I wanted to show you something. She led me to the same bar stools where we'd sat that first night. The bartender, who seemed to be in on whatever was happening, placed drinks in front of us. Wine for me, whiskey for her. Exactly what we'd ordered that night. Do you remember what I said to you? Diane asked. That first night, I thought back, trying to recall through the wine-hazed memories. You said you'd had a rough year after that. When we were talking about feeling empty and broken, you said maybe broken people can help each other find the pieces. Diana smiled. Close. I said maybe we figure it out together. That maybe broken people can help each other find the pieces. She turned on her stool to face me fully. And we did. We figured it out together. We found the pieces. But somewhere along the way, I realized something. My heart was racing, though I didn't yet understand why. I realized that you weren't just helping me find the pieces I'd lost. You were helping me discover pieces I never knew existed, parts of myself I'd never explored, because I was too busy trying to be what someone else needed. You gave me permission to be messy and complicated and fully myself. She slid off her stool, and my breath caught as she knelt on the slightly sticky floor of the violet room. I know we've both been hurt. I know marriage might feel scary after everything we've been through, but I also know that I want to spend my life with you. I want to grow old with you, create with you, heal with you, and build a life that's ours and no one else's. She pulled a small box from her pocket, opening it to reveal a simple but beautiful ring with a deep blue sapphire flanked by small diamonds. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down my face. A year and a half ago, I'd sat in this exact spot convinced I was too broken to ever love again, too damaged to deserve happiness. And now here was this incredible woman offering me not a fairy tale, but something better, a real, complicated, beautiful partnership. Yes, I said, laughing through my tears. Yes, absolutely yes. The bar erupted in applause. I realized our friends were there, hidden in corners and booths, witnessing this moment. Maya was crying. Jordan was filming. My sister was grinning so wide her face must have hurt. Diana slipped the ring on my finger and stood, pulling me into a kiss that tasted like whiskey and salt and promise. I love you, she whispered against my lips. I love you too. So much. Marcus, my gallery owner, paired with champagne. She came to me 3 months ago. He told me, wanted to plan the perfect proposal. We've been keeping this secret for so long I thought I'd burst. 3 months. I looked at Diana in wonder. I've known I wanted to marry you for longer than that, she admitted. But I wanted to do it right. Wanted it to be meaningful. We got married in October. A small ceremony in a botanical garden with autumn leaves falling around us. My mother cried, and this time they were happy tears. Diana's parents gave a toast about finding love when you least expected. Our friends celebrated with the kind of joy that comes from watching people you love finally find their happiness. I wore a white suit. Diana wore a flowing cream dress. We exchanged vows we'd written ourselves, promising not perfection, but presence. Not to complete each other, but to complement each other. Not to erase the past, but to build a future that honored our journeys. I promise to hold space for your healing, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. To remember that some days will be harder than others, and that's okay. To love you not despite your scars, but including them, because they're part of what makes you who you are. Diana's vows made me cry. I promise to see you, always, to celebrate your successes and support you through failures, to remind you of your worth when you forget, to be your partner in all things, your safe harbor in storms, and your companion in joy. We honeymooned in Italy, visiting art museums and architecture marvels, eating too much pasta and drinking too much wine. We talked about the future we wanted to build. Children, maybe through adoption or surrogacy. A house with a big studio and plenty of light. Work that mattered. A life filled with love and art and purpose. But we also talked about the past, about Rachel and Amanda, about the pain that had shaped us. We'd both learned that healing isn't about forgetting or erasing what happened. It's about integrating those experiences, learning from them, becoming wiser and more compassionate because of them. I used to think Rachel broke me, I told Diana as we walked through the streets of Florence. But now I realized she just broke my illusions. The real me, the strong me, was there all along. I just needed to find her again. And did you? Diana asked. Find her. I found something better. I found a version of myself that's been through pain and came out stronger. A version that knows her worth and won't settle for less than she deserves. Diana stopped walking, pulling me into a doorway to kiss me. That's my favorite version of you. Which one? The real one. The one who's messy and complicated and perfectly imperfect. 2 years after that rainy November night, I stood in a major gallery in New York, surrounded by my latest collection, From Darkness to Light, a journey of queer love and healing. The pieces traced my journey from heartbreak through healing to love. There were the original paintings from my first exhibition, now considered the foundation of my career. New pieces showing Diana and me building our life together. Abstract, but recognizable in their emotion. And a special installation in the center of the gallery. It was a three-dimensional piece, a room within the room. On one side, darkness and isolation, a figure alone. As you moved through the space, light gradually increased, and a second figure appeared. By the time you reached the other side, two figures stood together in brilliant light, not merged into one but distinct and whole, their shadows intertwining. I called it She Found Me in the Darkness, and together we found the light. A journalist interviewing me for a major art magazine asked, "What would you say to young queer people who are going through heartbreak right now, who feel like they'll never recover?" I thought about that girl I'd been, sitting alone in a bar, convinced her capacity for love had been destroyed. Thought about the journey from that moment to this one. I'd tell them that heartbreak is not the end of your story, just the end of a chapter. I'd tell them that being broken doesn't mean being destroyed, that the cracks in your heart are where the light gets in, where you grow stronger, where you learn what you really need and deserve. I paused, finding Diana in the crowd. She was talking with a collector, but sensing my gaze, she looked up and smiled. I tell them that the right person won't ask you to be less intense or love less deeply. The right person will match your intensity, will appreciate your depth, will love you not despite your scars, but because they understand that those scars are proof of your capacity to survive, to heal, to keep opening your heart even after it's been broken. The journalist nodded, writing quickly. "And what about the title of this piece? She Found Me in the Darkness. Can you tell us about that?" I walked over to the installation, gesturing for her to follow. That first night we met, we were both in the darkest places of our lives, both convinced we were too damaged to love again. But something happened when we recognized that darkness in each other. It wasn't that one of us saved the other. It was that we found each other in that darkness and decided to walk toward the light together. "So it's about codependency?" she asked. "No." I shook my head firmly. "It's about interdependence. There's a difference. Codependency is when you can't function without the other person, when you lose yourself in them. Interdependence is when you're both whole individuals who choose to walk through life together, supporting each other while maintaining your own identities." Diana didn't complete me. She reminded me that I was already complete. 6 months after the New York exhibition, Diana's LGBTQ Youth Center project was finally complete. It was her masterpiece, a building designed with intention and love, rainbow colors subtly incorporated into the architecture, safe spaces for counseling and community gatherings, an art studio where young people could express themselves freely, a library filled with queer literature and history. At the opening ceremony, a 16-year-old named Sophie stood at the microphone, her voice shaking but determined. "A year ago, I tried to kill myself," she said, and the crowd went silent. "My parents had just kicked me out for being gay. I was living in my car, failing school, completely alone. I didn't think anyone cared if I lived or died." Diana's hand found mine, squeezing tight. "But then I found this place. Even before it was finished, I saw the construction, saw the sign saying it would be a safe space for LGBTQ+ youth. I contacted the project manager, and she," Sophie pointed at Diana, "she hired me as an intern, taught me about architecture, gave me purpose, showed me that my life could have meaning beyond my pain." Tears streamed down Diana's face. She hadn't told me about Sophie, about any of this. "This building saved my life," Sophie continued, "and I know it's going to save other lives too. Because when you're that alone, that scared, having a place where you belong, where people understand, where you don't have to explain or hide or apologize for existing, that changes everything." The applause was thunderous. Sophie stepped down from the podium and walked straight to Diana, hugging her tightly. I watched my wife hold this brave young woman, both of them crying, and felt my heart might burst with love and pride. Later, as we toured the finished building, I asked Diana why she hadn't mentioned Sophie. "I didn't want to make it about me," she said. This project was never about getting credit or recognition. It was about creating something that could genuinely help people. Sophie did the work of healing herself. I just gave her a place to do it. You gave her more than that, I said. You gave her hope. You showed her that her life mattered. Diana stopped in the art studio, looking around at the blank canvases waiting for young artists. Do you remember what you said to that young woman at your first exhibition? The one who thanked you for your work. I told her she made the right choice, choosing authenticity over safety. You gave her hope too. That's what we do, isn't it? We take our pain and transform it into something that helps others. Your art, my buildings, they're both ways of saying you're not alone. I've been where you are, and there's a way through. I kissed her there in the empty studio, tasting salt from tears we'd both shed. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of us, she corrected. We did this together. You inspired me to dream bigger, to believe that my work could matter beyond just aesthetics. We started the adoption process when I was 35 and Diana was 37. It was harder than we expected. Some agencies were openly hostile to same-sex couples. Others gave us a polite runaround, always moving us to the bottom of the list. We faced rejection after rejection, each one reopening old wounds about not being enough, not deserving happiness. Maybe this isn't meant to happen, I said one night after another agency turned us down. Maybe the universe is telling us something. Diana set down her coffee, her expression serious. The universe isn't telling us anything. Bigoted people are making bigoted decisions. That doesn't reflect on us or our worthiness to be parents. But what if they're right? What if we can't provide what a child needs? Stop. Diana moved to sit beside me on the couch. Rachel really did a number on you, didn't she? Made you believe that wanting things, asking for things, was somehow wrong or excessive. I started to protest. But she held up a hand. You are not asking for too much. You're asking for the same thing countless straight couples get without question. The chance to love a child, to provide them with a safe home, to help them grow and thrive. That's not excessive. That's beautiful. She cupped my face. We will be amazing parents. And some agency is going to recognize that. We just have to keep trying. 3 months later, we got the call. A pregnant 17-year-old named Jasmine wanted to meet us. She was looking for parents for her baby, and our profile had stood out to her. We met at a cafe, all of us nervous. Jasmine was small and fierce, with determination in her eyes that reminded me of myself at that age. I want my baby to have everything I can't give them, she said without preamble. A stable home, to parents who love each other, opportunities I never had. She looked between us. I want them to know that being different is okay, that love comes in all forms. And I read your application about how you both overcame heartbreak and built something beautiful together. That's what I want for my child, to know that even when things are hard, love is possible. We can give them that. Diana said softly, not a perfect life, because perfect doesn't exist, but a life full of love and support and acceptance. Jasmine nodded. There's one more thing. I'm gay too. That's part of why my family kicked me out. I got pregnant because I was trying to prove I was straight, trying to be what they wanted. Obviously, that didn't work. She laughed bitterly. I want my baby raised by people who will never make them feel like they have to be anyone other than who they are. I reached across the table, taking her hand. We promise, your baby will always be free to be themselves, to love who they love, to explore who they are without judgment. Tears filled Jasmine's eyes. Okay, I choose you. Luna came into our lives on a snowy January morning, exactly 3 years after Diana proposed. She was perfect, tiny and screaming and absolutely perfect. Jasmine chose to have us in the delivery room, and I watched Diana cut the umbilical cord with shaking hands. Both of us crying. Jasmine held Luna for an hour after birth, whispering things we couldn't hear, saying her private goodbye. Then she placed our daughter in my arms. Take care of her, Jasmine said. Tell her I loved her enough to give her the life she deserves. Always, I promised. And when she's old enough, We'll tell her about you, about how brave you were, how much you loved her. Jasmine had requested an open adoption, wanting to know Luna was okay without being actively involved in parenting. We sent her photos and updates, and she sent back letters for Luna to read when she was older. Those first months were exhausting and magical. Diana and I took turns with night feedings, walked endless circles round the apartment soothing a colicky baby, marveled at every tiny milestone. Luna had Jasmine's dark curls and a serious expression that broke into the most beautiful smile. My mother visited and held her granddaughter with unexpected tenderness. "I'm sorry," she said quietly one afternoon while Diana napped and I fed Luna, "for not being there for you the way I should have been, for making you feel like you had to hide who you were." "Mom, let me finish." She watched Luna's tiny hand grasp my finger. "Seeing you now, seeing the life you've built, the love you share with Diana, this beautiful family you've created, I realize how wrong I was, how much I almost missed out on because of my own prejudice and fear." She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "You were never broken or wrong or too much. You were always exactly who you were meant to be. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see that." I shifted Luna to one arm and pulled my mother into a hug. "Thank you. That means everything." Luna was 2 when we hit our roughest patch. Diana's firm offered her a promotion that would require significant travel, sometimes weeks at a time. It was everything she'd worked toward professionally, but it meant time away from Luna and me. "I don't know what to do," she admitted, pacing our bedroom while I got ready for bed. "I want this promotion. I've earned it. But I don't want to miss Luna's childhood. Don't want you to feel like you're parenting alone." "Then don't take it," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Just like that. Give up on this opportunity." "I'm not saying you should. I'm saying if you don't want to miss Luna's childhood, the solution is to not take a job that requires you to miss it." Diana stopped pacing. "You resent this. You resent that I even want the promotion. That's not fair, isn't it? I can hear it in your voice. You think I'm choosing work over family." And there it was. The old wound reopened. Rachel had always prioritized work, used it as an excuse to avoid intimacy, to justify her distance. I was projecting that onto Diana, and we both knew it. "I'm scared," I admitted. "Scared that if you take this job, you'll be gone more and more. That work will become more important than us. That I'll end up feeling second best again." Diana sat beside me on the bed. "I am not Rachel, and you need to stop punishing me for what she did." "I know, I just know." Her voice was firm, but not unkind. "We've been married for 3 years, together for 5. At some point, you have to trust that I'm not going to leave. That my love for you and Luna is solid and real and not dependent on proximity or convenience." She was right, and I hated it. Hated that even after all this time, all this healing, Rachel's ghost could still haunt our marriage. "I want to support your dreams," I said carefully. "I do. But I also need to know that we're still your priority. That when you're choosing between a meeting and Luna's first day of preschool, you'll choose Luna. Always." Diana said without hesitation. "Here's what I'm thinking. I'll take the promotion, but I'll negotiate terms. No travel during Luna's school year unless it's absolutely critical. Video calls every night when I'm away. And you get final veto power. If you say a trip is too much, that we need me home, I'll stay. You do that? Risk your career for us?" Diana took my face in her hands. "You two are my career. Everything else is just work. Important work, meaningful work, but still just work. You and Luna are my life. We worked it out." Diana took the promotion with negotiated terms. Sometimes it was hard. Nights when I was exhausted and alone with a tantruming toddler, wishing Diana was there. But we made it work through honest communication and unwavering commitment to each other and our family. Luna was for when she asked the question we'd been preparing for. Why do I have to? Mommy's when my friend Emmer has a mommy and a daddy. We were having breakfast, Diana making pancakes while I helped Luna color at the kitchen table. We exchanged glances, silently communicating. This is it. Diana came to sit with us, turning off the stove. Well, sweetie, families come in all different kinds. Some kids have a mommy and a daddy. Some have two mommies, like you. Some have two daddies. Some have one parent. Some are raised by grandparents or aunts and uncles. What matters isn't what a family looks like, but that the people in it love each other. But why do I have two mummies? I took over because Mama Diana and I fell in love with each other. And when two women love each other, they can get married and have a family, just like a man and a woman can. Luna thought about this seriously. Did you grow me in your tummy? Here was the harder part. No, sweetheart. You grew in another woman's tummy. Her name is Jasmine, and she loved you very much. But she wasn't able to take care of a baby, so she chose us to be your mummies, to love you and raise you and keep you safe. Where is Jasmine now? She lives in another state, Diana said gently, and she asked us to send her pictures of you so she can see how you're growing. When you're older, if you want to meet her, we can arrange that. Luna processed this with the seriousness of a child trying to understand complex adult concepts. So she's like my tummy mommy, and you're my real mummies? We're all real, I corrected gently. Jasmine is real, and she made a very brave choice out of love for you. And yes, we're your mummies who take care of you every day. Okay, Luna said, apparently satisfied, and went back to coloring. Diana and I looked at each other, barely containing relieved laughter. We'd spent months preparing for this conversation, reading books about how to discuss adoption and same-sex parents with children, and Luna had just accepted it all with remarkable ease. That night, after Luna was asleep, we sat on the back porch with wine, looking at the stars. She's incredible, Diana said. She really is. Do you think she understands? As much as a 4-year-old can. We'll have versions of that conversation for years, each one going deeper as she gets older. Diana paused. I'm grateful Jasmine trusted us with her. Me too. Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like if you'd stayed with Rachel? Diana asked suddenly. I considered it. Sometimes, but not in a wistful way. More like looking at a path I didn't take and being grateful I didn't. If I'd stayed with Rachel, I would have made myself smaller, quieter, less. I would have believed her when she said I was too much. I wouldn't have this. I gestured to our home, or life. I wouldn't have you or Luna, or my art, or this beautiful, messy, complicated, perfect life we've built. I used to be angry at Amanda, Diana confessed, for leaving the way she did, for the pain she caused. But now I see it as a gift. She freed me to find you, to become who I was always meant to be. Our exes did us a favor. The worst favor imaginable at the time. Diana laughed. But yes, they taught us what we didn't want, what we wouldn't accept. They showed us our worth by failing to recognize it. Luna started kindergarten, and I found myself with more time for my art. I began teaching classes at the LGBTQ+ youth center Diana had designed, working with teenagers who used art as therapy, as expression, as survival. One of my students was a 15-year-old named Jordan, who reminded me so much of my younger self. It was almost painful, talented, intense, desperate to be seen and understood. My parents hate that I'm gay, Jordan told me one day after class, tears streaming down their face. They say I'm going through a phase, that I'm too young to know. I sat beside them, handing over tissues. I'm sorry, that's incredibly painful. How did you deal with it? When people didn't accept you, I thought about my journey. From that small town girl hiding who she was to the woman I'd become. I had to learn that other people's acceptance of me wasn't as important as my own acceptance of myself. That took time and a lot of pain. But eventually, I realized that living authentically, even if it meant some people rejected me, was better than living a lie to make others comfortable. But what if I lose them? My parents. That's the hard truth, I said gently. Sometimes, when we choose authenticity, we do lose people, and that loss is real and painful and valid. But here's what I've learned. The people who truly love you will make the journey with you, even if it takes time. And the ones who don't, You build a chosen family with people who see you and celebrate you for exactly who you are. Jordan looked around the studio at the other queer kids creating art, finding community. Is that what this is? Chosen family. Part of it, your community can become your family when your biological family fails you. But that doesn't mean you give up hope that your parents will come round. Some do, eventually. My mother did. Though it took years, I shared my story with Jordan about Rachel and Diana, about heartbreak and healing, about learning to trust love again, about how the darkest moments of our lives can sometimes lead us to the light if we're brave enough to keep walking. You give me hope, Jordan said. Seeing you with your wife and daughter, your art, your life, it shows me that it's possible, that I can be gay and be happy and have love and a family. You can have all of that, I assured them. It might not look exactly like what you imagined, but it can be beautiful and real and yours. Diana and I celebrated our 20th anniversary with Lunar, now 22 and studying architecture like her mama. She'd brought her girlfriend, Sasha, home for the weekend, and watching them together, young and in love and hopeful, felt like watching history repeat in the best possible way. Tell us the story again, Luna asked over dinner. About how you met. Diana and I exchanged smiles. We told this story hundreds of times, but Luna never tired of hearing it. It was a rainy November night. I began. I was sitting alone in a bar called the Violet Room, completely broken, convinced I'd never love again. And I was running from my past. Diana continued, trying to escape memories in a new city, feeling empty and alone. Then this beautiful stranger sat down beside me, and we recognized something in each other. To people who'd been hurt, but weren't quite ready to give up, Luna sighed happily. Sasha listened with rapt attention, hearing the story for the first time. What I love about your story, Sasha said, is that it's not a fairy tale. You didn't fix each other or complete each other. You both did the work of healing yourselves while supporting each other through it. That's exactly right, Diana said, squeezing my hand under the table. The myth that we need another person to complete us is toxic. We were both whole people who chose to build a life together. Later, after the girls had gone to bed, Diana and I sat in our backyard, the same stars above us that had been there 20 years ago. Did you ever imagine this? I asked, back in that bar, when we first met. Did you imagine we'd be here? Honestly, no. I was too broken to imagine any future, let alone one this beautiful. Diana turned to me. But you gave me hope. From that very first night, you showed me that maybe I wasn't as broken as I thought. We healed each other. We created space for each other to heal ourselves. Diana corrected gently. There is a difference. I thought about the girl I'd been, the woman I'd become, about the art I'd created, the lives I'd touched through teaching, the family I'd built, about the journey from darkness to light, from pain to peace. Thank you, I said. For what? For finding me in the darkness, for walking toward the light with me, for 20 years of choosing me. Even when it was hard, Diana kissed me, soft and sweet and full of 2 decades of love and commitment. Thank you for letting me, for trusting me with your heart after it had been broken, for building this beautiful life with me. We sat there under the stars, 2 women who'd found each other in the darkness and created light together. And I knew that this was what love really looked like. Not perfect, not easy, but real and deep and lasting. 20 years ago, I couldn't have imagined this happiness. But here it was, built one day at a time, one choice at a time, one act of love at a time. And it was more beautiful than anything I could have painted. And our 25th anniversary. Luna gave us a gift, a letter she'd written, words she wanted us to have. Dear Mom and Mommer, I'm writing this because there are things I need you to know. Things I don't say enough. Growing up with 2 moms made me different. And when I was younger, I sometimes resented that difference. I got questions, got teased, had to explain my family to people who didn't understand. But now, at 27, I see it as the greatest gift you could have given me. You taught me that love is a choice. Not just the choice to be with someone, but the daily choice to show up, to communicate, to work through hard things, to forgive and be forgiven. I watched you navigate disagreements with respect and care. I watched you support each other's dreams while maintaining your own identities. I watched you heal from past pain while building something beautiful together. You taught me that family ain't about biology. It's about love and commitment. Jasmine gave me life, and I'm grateful to her for that. But you gave me everything else. You showed me what it means to be brave, to be authentic, to live with integrity and purpose, Mom. You taught me that our pain can become our power if we're willing to transform it into something meaning. GFL, your art has touched thousands of lives, and watching you create has shown me the importance of turning our struggles into something beautiful. Mummer, you taught me that success isn't just about personal achievement, but about lifting others up. Your community center has saved lives, and your dedication to creating spaces where people can be themselves has shown me the true meaning of legacy. Together, you taught me what partnership looks like, what it means to build a life with someone based on mutual respect, shared values, and unwavering commitment. You set the bar impossibly high, and I'm grateful for it. Because of you, I know what real love looks like, and I won't settle for less. You found each other in darkness and walked toward the light together. In doing so, you lit the way for me and for countless others who've been touched by your story, your art, your buildings, your love. Thank you for choosing each other. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for showing me that broken hearts can heal, that love can triumph over pain, that we get to write our own stories. I love you both more than words can express. Forever, your daughter. Luna read the letter together, tears streaming down both our faces. 25 years since that rainy November night. 25 years of choosing each other, of building a life, of transforming pain into purpose. Diana pulled me close, and I rested my head on her shoulder, both of us overwhelmed with gratitude for the journey that had brought us here. We did good, Diana whispered. We did, I agreed. We really did. And as we sat there, holding each other, I thought about that broken girl in the bar so many years ago, convinced she'd never love again. If I could go back and tell her one thing, it would be this: the darkness won't last forever. Someone will find you there, and together, you'll find the light. And when you do, it will be more beautiful than anything you ever imagined. Just hold on. Just keep breathing. Your story isn't over. It's only just beginning.